The Drop Back with Sam Lewis, Matt Burns-Peak and Joe Costanzo.
And we're back with another episode of the Drop Back podcast. I'm Sam Lewis, and as ever, joined down the line and on screen by Joe Costanzo.
Oh, and on screen, you're calling it out. I mean, we're testing on screen. You might see me. You might see my face.
We could have just cut it if it didn't work.
Sound? It's fine.
Yeah, but now you've called it out. You put pressure on yourself. If you're not hearing it now on screen,
Joe's bugging it.
No, Joe's bugging it.
Then I'll be editing this out if you so it's fine.
Also joined on screen again, just to make it hard for Joe to edit, by Matt Burns-Peak.
Howdy doodly, guys.
And Stan Wilson.
Hi Sam, how you doing?
Doing good.
Stan,
nice to actually see you all while we're trying to record this.
Returning for a second
Indeed.
week, Stan. Oh,
Yeah, I've made it to week two.
made to
Bounce.
the big clubs. This is high stakes poker,
Indeed.
my friend. Are you ready?
It's
Yeah.
really.
Are you
not,
ready,
man.
Joe?
Are you ready to rumble?
I think that means Joe's ready.
I think I am.
Joe's hyped up and good to go.
I'm good.
Right. So a bit of upsetting news came out of the NFL. Well, it would have been yesterday when we were recording it. So Adam Schefter reported that although the NFL will be releasing a 17-game schedule later in the week, there's a high possibility that we won't be having any international games in London this year for the first time in over 10 years at least.
Boo.
That is so much.
How much of a blow is this for the game in England?
You know, it sucks because obviously everyone wants, like, they always sell out the London games. They're always a fantastic event. We've gone to loads of them. It's always a great occasion. It's one of those things where I feel like with the current sort of global climate, it's pretty understandable that, but it's one of those sacrifices we're going to have to make. I don't know if it's going to affect, you know, how the game continues to grow in the UK too much. And it'll be
You
interesting.
could argue though with it being on usually terrestrial TV or at least Sky Sports when it's over here in the UK and at a more normal time, that it would get higher viewing numbers that most games maybe won't get, so it may draw in a few more
That's
casual
true.
fans. And there's usually quite a bit of build up towards it. But yeah, like you said, the core fans are going to watch the games anyway, but it is a little bit frustrating that we won't be able to go to any this year.
Yeah, because they are such good events. I mean, we've been to quite a few.
Yeah.
It'll suck a bit. What do you think, Joe?
I'm sad, but I completely understand why they've done it, to be honest. Obviously, given the situation, it's kind of unprecedented times we're in, and I'd rather have football and no London games than potentially something goes wrong. You never know whatever might happen in the future. No one knows. So I like to keep with this whole thing. I've just said, just ride the wave, you know, take what comes. We had a good NFL draft despite it all, one of the most viewed things ever. So who's to say, maybe, you know, what would be a nice middle ground is if they maybe change the kickoff times a bit for what would have been the London games, at least to accommodate for the English viewers who would be seeing it, and maybe even still tailgating. It would be nice to still do a little tailgate and pretend, you know. I mean,
there's something there.
It's just like when you
goes
go
into
on
Wembley Stadium still, they show it on screen.
Yeah, it's just like when you go on one of those Zoom calls to like go on a night out, but you're actually not. You're just sitting in your bed.
Well, like a virtual tailgate.
Yeah, that'll be pretty dope.
I like
To
the
be
sound of
fair,
that.
like, we
You
should
heard it here first.
host one of those. Why not?
We're hosting a virtual tailgate.
Let's do it.
Drop back virtual
Yes.
tailgate.
Nice.
That is
Locked in. Set your
such a good
calendars.
shout, actually.
Well, now we've just got to hope the NFL season happens.
Yeah, we'll just sit and wait for the Adam Lefkoes of the world to roll up and join in the Zoom call.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah,
At least you haven't set the bar too high there, Joe.
nah,
Yeah.
mate. You never know. You
Yeah.
never know. But
Never know.
I think it's sad, but I understand why they've done it, and I'd rather have football than
Yeah.
not.
And if we do still manage to get a full 17-game slate, then all props to the NFL to manage to pull this out when they didn't look positive about a week ago. I'm surprised that they did announce that they're going to do this week.
Yeah, it's ballsy.
It seems too far ahead to announce, to be honest. Like, with the state of things in America, especially at the moment.
I think everyone, with
seems-
this whole situation, everyone is very optimistic and about giving sort of deadlines and dates, and everyone wants dates all the time. It's what everyone, like, it's the first thing that comes to your head to make you feel safe. Like, oh, when will this be over? But no one actually really knows. Like, even the experts don't really know. So it's hard to pinpoint this and be like, oh well, we still don't know. Like you said, if training camps will be heavily affected. It's pretty safe to assume that.
Oh, they absolutely will be.
Yeah, but and the start of the season, is that going to start at the regular time? Are we going to have a delayed schedule? It's the Super Bowl going to be in the end of March? What's going on?
Well, I suppose the benefit of laying out the schedule preemptively is that you at least have the order of the games, and then you can push it back as many weeks as you need to, and you don't have to think about rescheduling.
What do you reckon the
themselves.
max number of weeks is they'll push it back before it gets to like NBA territory where it's like they have to even?
I don't think they're I don't think they're super concerned about NBA territory. I think because the NFL rules TV numbers in America.
Yeah,
and it's not even.
There's too many basketball games.
Yeah, but
it
will still take a bit of a hit if it's competing with basketball though.
That's fair enough. I think the bigger issue would be going into the next season's draft period and free agency period, because it's like what we're experiencing here in the UK with
Premier League
footballing contracts.
Yeah,
that they run out at a certain time, so you can't push it past the beginning of the new year.
Yeah, that's true.
That moves the year behind back as well.
Especially with college going on as well. Like if the NFL pushes it back, then college will be going at the same time, and you can't have the collegiate draft happening during the season. Otherwise, those players just won't decide to play that year.
Yeah.
Like you'll have players like Trevor Lawrence just sitting out the season because they know they'll get drafted, and they don't want to get injured mid-season and hurt their draft stock if the draft is during the time that they.
That does happen anyway, though.
Do you imagine how crazy that'd be though if the college season and the NFL season? Do you know what I mean? Like the draft happens and it's still like midway through the NFL season.
No, they couldn't do it. Like they'd have to just wait till the end of the season.
Like do it after the trade deadline, and then you can actually play your players you've drafted.
Imagine that scene. Just
straight into
Trevor Lawrence jumping in.
All right, Trevor, welcome aboard. We've got a game in about 4 days.
Game 12.
Yeah. Boom. Reinforcements.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
That'd be dope too.
Well, it probably would put quite a hit on quarterbacks and stuff, because if you think what's going to affect your season most, it's probably going to be pass rushers at more than anything, so they're going to be at an even higher premium than they would be.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
for
it's
starting,
not as much of a playbook they need to learn. You think, right, we get this guy and we send him on blitzes every so often. We don't need him to learn the full playbook in a week.
Yeah, exactly. Just try and hit that bloke.
Hard. Yeah, it's completely hypothetical anyway.
That's a pretty good, life lesson in general. Just try and hit that bloke. That's football for you.
Bad life lesson. Bad life lesson.
Man, Joe, I thought you were going down the Buddhist monk route.
No, it's a school of hard knocks, baby.
God.
Balsa Hard University, where you at?
Straight and watch out. A stout little chap with a shaved head is on the loose.
There's quite a few of those, don't worry.
Not quite as stout as you are, Joey.
No one is.
Alright, so moving on to I think the biggest actual footballing news that's broken the last week or so was Andy Dalton surprisingly signing with the Dallas Cowboys, 1 year deal, $7 million, $3 million guaranteed.
That's weird.
To start off with, what does this mean for the Cowboys' relationship with Dak Prescott?
Ooh.
It's a massive. They're just throwing shade on Dak, aren't they? They're not paying him.
It's a big middle finger.
The salary he wants. Yeah, exactly. They're paying Andy Dalton, a backup quarterback, instead of paying their franchise guy. And it seems a bit weird.
How much is Andy Dalton making? Does anyone know?
I just said it.
Everyone knows.
So I think it's a classic Jerry Jones move, to be honest. He's a bit of a, not going to lie, he's a bit of a shady fellow when it comes to these kind of things. He likes to play with the media, and he likes Dallas being the biggest thing, and taking Andy Dalton as the backup when the leading QB in that team is obviously going through contract negotiations that have been quite heavily noted on by the media is just one of these other Jerry Jones sort of tactics that he'll happily play up to it. He did it with Zeke and it didn't work out, so we'll have to see what goes on with this now.
Maybe it's an insurance policy too for if Dak decides he's going to sit out because he wants a bigger contract.
That's fair enough. It still keeps them competitive at least, which
that's what I mean.
Understand.
I think it's just a big. I think it's all about getting a bit more leverage over Dak Prescott when it comes to that contract negotiation. Because, like Stan said, it means that if Dak Prescott wants to play hardball and threaten a sit out, they do have a former NFL starter that they can roll out for the first few weeks and probably will do a serviceable job. Andy Dalton's not a bad QB. He's like the definition of an average NFL starter, but it's not gonna be a case where Dak sits out, we've got no one else. So I think it is 100% a leverage move in those Dak negotiations.
Yeah. Could it not just also, to some extent, simply be the value of backup quarterbacks has dramatically increased over the last few years? When you look at what Teddy Bridgewater did with the Saints last year, Nick Foles obviously with the Eagles. The Saints have gone ahead and got Jameis Winston for their team now. Is it just more valuable than ever to have a high property backup?
Yeah, definitely. Like, we split the 49ers as well. They had multiple trade offers this offseason for Nick Mullins. They denied it because they know that like a backup quarterback is incredibly valued in a pass-first league. And especially, I know it's a cliche, but it's true.
It's worth a first or a second in this year's draft.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Jordan Love.
Especially
Jalen
if you're an
Hurts.
Eagles fan.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing as well. If you look at the value of, like Joe said, in the draft, if you're getting Dalton, who has been a high standard starter in the league for much of his career, if you're getting him for only $7 million, maybe only $3 million, then that's great value for the Cowboys.
It was a really weird move that I don't think any of us really saw coming. I think everyone was thinking that Dalton would maybe land with the Pats or someone like that, but it is actually a pretty savvy
Everyone thought the Pats.
piece of business. Yeah.
Literally, I didn't see a single analyst who didn't say the Pats.
I saw a lot of people saying the Jaguars as well.
Yeah, that was another one.
That really makes me question what they're doing. Because yes, they've got Minshew locked in.
The
but the only other people they have on their roster are Josh Dobbs and Jake Luton.
Yeah.
And they must be really sold on
another
Minshew
one
at this point
I thought would have been...
Minshew's a good player.
I like Minshew.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers could have taken him as well, because Big Ben just hasn't been that reliable over the years as well in staying in games.
They're sold on Rudolph, though.
Don't know why.
They're sold on Rudolph.
Why?
I don't know. I don't agree with it, but they're sold on Rudolph.
How can they be sold on him? They benched him for Duck Hodges last year.
Yeah, sold on
which
you,
is
mate.
one of the silliest names in the NFL.
Mason or Rudolph.
No, Duck.
Duck, obviously.
Oh, sorry.
Why would it be Mason?
They're all pretty stupid. I'm not gonna lie.
Imagine being called Mason.
No, but the other team you talk about, New England, does that mean they're all in on Stidham, or is it a Hoyer Stidham?
Yeah.
Well,
battle?
this is
No,
what I mean.
Stidham's their
Everyone
guy.
dropped.
Which is weird.
Every analyst said Andy Dalton's free. The Patriots are going to take him. It's such a Patriots move. They'll just swoop him up
Makes
and he'll
too
be
much
really
sense,
good.
yeah.
And it's weird because they didn't. If they're not going to take Cam Newton, why would they take Andy Dalton? In my opinion, so
Injury issues with Cam.
And also, I couldn't imagine Cam Newton going in there and working well with Bill Belichick in terms of those two.
I think Bill
personalities.
Belichick's always wanted to have a mobile QB, but it's whether or not Cam can still be mobile. And I don't think the Patriots like to take risks. I actually think the Patriots would be perfectly happy. Well, I know we're going to get into worst to first, but going first to worst this year and just taking a good draft pick.
And tanking for Trevor.
I can't see Bill Belichick.
I literally can.
He would retire if he wanted to rebuild. He would retire.
Yeah,
Like,
I think you're right.
This is the year he has to. This is
Stidham.
arguably the most prove-it year of his career.
And he's sticking with Stidham.
Yeah, 100%.
He's not gone for
He
Cam
wouldn't
Newton. He
upgrade
hasn't
it.
snatched up Andy Dalton. He's
Well,
let
if
him
he
go
wins
to
with Stidham, if he wins with Stidham, he wins the argument that he is.
Yeah, he was the
Patriots.
reason. Yeah,
Do you think that's
exactly.
what's in his mind? Do you think that's running through his head when he's going?
I don't know if it's at the
100%.
forefront, but it's definitely.
I don't know if he's
in the
that type
background of
of
his
guy, to be honest. Like, yeah,
I could.
don't know.
I mean, from what's been obviously when there's smoke, there must be some kind of fire. I always think with these sort of NFL skirmishes, when you hear about certain people not getting on, and there's always been that sort of Brady or Belichick debate. And I think now this year is, like you said, one of the most important years to kind of prove that, like, who is
both
it?
of them.
Is it a system thing? Can someone can just walk in and be a decent QB for the New England Patriots, like we've seen with Jacoby Brissett, like we've seen with Jimmy G. But is it going to go that way? Or I don't think from what we saw last year, there's not enough talent.
You're forgetting what Belichick was before he started winning with Brady. He failed in Cleveland. He backed out of the Jets. And if he then tanks this year, takes Trevor Lawrence, the thing will always be, oh yeah, but he needed an elite quarterback to win games.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
we're forgetting the fact that he's a defensive guy as well. Like I know he plays GM as well, but he's not ultimately the guy who calls
but
shots on
in
offense,
today's
is he?
league, and I know obviously you've got the Eagles with Nick Foles, but that was the same year that Carson Wentz should have won the MVP, in my opinion. And like, you just need a good QB to win the Super Bowl consistently, and Nick Foles played his heart out even in that case. had just a phenomenal run, and even with Joe Flacco going back into 2012, he had a phenomenal run in the playoffs. It's either a good QB or a hot QB. It always makes a difference. It seems to be in these sort of Super Bowl pushes, unless it's the Rams versus Patriots.
You must believe
which was
Stidham's
terrible.
that guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things you hear buzz around like, oh, the Patriots are really into Stidham, but who? Well, I mean, they must be at this point. Like, they would have taken Cam Newton, they would have taken Andy Dalton if they're not doing that. But who gets Newton? Like, who's getting Newton? I remember.
Well, there was a report that came out yesterday or the day before. Well, to be honest, at the point this comes out, it doesn't matter how many days ago it was. From the Athletic, saying that Cam won't sign as a backup and he'll wait for a starter to go down before signing with the team.
100%. There's no way on this planet that
to be
Cam
fair,
Newton's going to sign to be
it probably gives him more time to rest his shoulder anyway. So I don't think it's a negative.
Also, it means that if he is on a team and someone goes down elsewhere, he's not then stuck on another team watching.
Yeah, exactly.
He is also
can play the field a bit.
He is also having to thrust himself into a completely new system in a whole different offense that he's never had a chance with, and then prove himself on his probably most important year of his career. I mean, that's also a bit of a risky game. Would you not rather have...
It's a double-edged sword. You either don't know the playbook 100% and have to rely on natural talent, which he does have, or you don't.
But the Panthers,
Yeah.
when they had the most success with Cam and when he was the MVP, is when they fit their scheme around Cam. It's the same with what Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are doing. And what we saw with even Colin Kaepernick or any sort of mobile QB, and I don't mean to sort of shoehorn it all together because Cam has got that natural talent, like we said. But I also think on the other side of things that you kind of have to account for, you know, just like how things have gone, how people have... You can't just thrust him into a completely new situation and expect the coaches to bend the playbook to his whims and to outline his assets.
I see what you're saying, Joe. I think like you said, Stu, it's actually not a bad pitch from Cam's side in terms of just to hang back and give himself the option of all 32 teams, especially when you look at some of the, you know, we were talking about how important backup QBs are in the league, and there are still quite a few teams with questionable options if the starter does go down. Like we mentioned before, the Steelers, like that if
the Jags.
The Jags, exactly. You know,
Eagles.
Exactly. There are enough teams out there that if a starter goes down, the backup isn't good enough that a team would be able to, you know, be like, oh, Cam Newton's not an option right now, regardless of the fact that he might not know the playbook. We'll have to get him up to speed and all that. You know, he's an NFL veteran. He's got experience learning how the league works, learning different playbooks and stuff like that. So I think he is in a more favourable position if a starter goes down than quite a lot of the backups in this league. So
also, people, because of how athletic Cam is, people throughout his career have undersold how good a passer he is. Like, let's not pretend that he's a one.
Wavered though.
It's not.
But
perfect,
even in with the Panthers,
there have been times in his career where he has been an elite passer.
Yeah.
It's gone down though recently. A lot,
Yeah.
like,
but to be fair, we don't know how much of that is linked to his injuries. And again, teams won't as well until they can get him in their building.
The whole sort of mysterious veil around this injury is what has been kind of difficult to assess his performance in the last, his kind of like degradation, if you will, over the last like 2 years, where people have seen a notable plummet down his performance, and then leading to the announcement of his injury on YouTube and everything like that. It was quite weird, wasn't it? Like,
you don't know how long it's been going. You don't know how long he's been playing hurt and stuff as well. So,
do you guys think that if it wasn't for this whole situation and he was able to visit teams' doctors, that he'd have a job right now?
I think it depends, obviously, how healthy he is.
I think so.
Well, yeah. Well, if the team doctors were able to see if he was healthy,
and he was, then
yeah.
Did you guys see that? Did you guys see that All or Nothing documentary on the Panthers?
Yeah.
Week to week, just the struggles he had with his shoulder, and the fact that he struggled with it all season. It really affected his accuracy, and I can't see. I think he's done.
Didn't he say at one point? He said at one point he couldn't throw the ball.
Is that done that he'll never play another game, or that he won't ever play to that good level?
He won't ever play to that level ever again because of his shoulder. Like the way his aggressive play style, the way he ran with the ball, although it worked and it works at a very high level.
It's because
it's not something that you can do until you're 42, like someone like Tom Brady.
It's a player. Well, yeah, because Tom Brady is a completely, like you said, completely different style of play. style of play. But I think with I couldn't help myself with Cam. I think a lot of people kind of lean on that. I don't want to say he's done, but he did admit at one point to having issues consistently throwing the ball over 30 yards, which I think is a big problem. If you can't do that in the NFL, you're actually done. I know Drew.
He's washed out.
Like Drew Brees, obviously, his arm talent has kind of decreased naturally over the years, but he can still throw the ball over 30 yards, and he's still incredibly accurate. I don't think you get the kind of accuracy with a Cam Newton like you do with an MVP, consistent MVP runner-up Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Nice shade there, Joe.
I'm sorry. I love the man. I think he's first ballot Hall of Famer, but it's just a fact.
Well,
yeah,
ballot.
I think that's a good point as well, Joe. Like from a NFL defensive standpoint, if you know that a QB is going to struggle to be able to throw the ball more than 30 yards, like how much can you use that to your advantage in terms of scheming a defense? If you know that you don't need to worry about the top being taken off, the secondary.
Oh yeah,
massive. It's massive. You could just leave one high safety all the time, and you can load up the box. You can load up those like inside passing lanes, and it'll make a defensive coordinator's job so much easier, knowing that the quarterback you're facing can't actually throw the ball further than 30 yards.
It's almost similar to what happened to the Browns last year. Because they had no protection, everyone knew that Baker Mayfield was going to roll out to the right on every single play that he got pressure.
Yeah.
So it means you can just not cover the left-hand side of the field, basically, on half the plays. So it just makes your job that much easier.
True. At least for half the corners. Yeah, we kind of digressed there, but I think that was a nice little roundabout. Like I wanted to address Cam Newton as well as Andy Dalton, if anything, because I just think the whole situation is so weird.
They're always going to be compared when it comes to how this.
They're at the same draft class as well, which is the crazy thing. He was the number 1 pick. He was the top of the second round.
The other one in that draft class also doesn't have a job. Colin.
Ooh. Yeah, that's true. He was also second round, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think he was either one in front.
But I think if Cam Newton's not getting a job, Colin Kaepernick is definitely not getting a job.
No, Colin Kaepernick is never getting another job.
I think that's a whole nother thing, and he's
been out the game too long.
We've spoke about this.
There's too much. There's too much politics around it, which I think sucks from the
It's the same with anything. It's kind of messed up how they treat this whole thing almost as if when a player gets accused of something egregious like a sexual assault or something obviously quite serious, they're kind of treating this whole Kaepernick situation like that. Obviously the NFL tried to make headway with it and do their own thing and hold a tryout, but it's the fact that you can in the NFL you can just kind of click your fingers, and then this person is like, it's like what they did with Tebow as well. I'm sorry to say it, but it's just like this weird. If they bring like some sort of media hysteria, obviously it's a bit different, and the whole racial impact of the whole thing. But it's just any sort of teams don't like attention, and only certain teams like attention, and those teams are run by psychopaths. And I'm not going to name them, but you can imagine
psychopath teams.
You can imagine.
Let's see how many team social medias we can get banned from. Joe, go on, shoot.
I think I've done enough on this podcast to put us in a weird legal situation. So
please leave us alone.
I'll step back.
Good plan.
Good. Nice. He's learnt his lesson.
Good of you, Joe. That was good growth. Good growth from you, Joe.
It's the hair.
We must learn.
We must learn and
Namaste.
Improve. All right, so moving on from this topic promptly before Joe gets anyone in trouble. Which teams that were a little bit shady have improved like Joe has and will challenge for a division championship?
Who's your Joe team, guys?
Joe team of the year.
I know we were supposed to bring 3, but I brought 5.
That's good because I didn't bring any. So
I also said bring 1 as well, but good reading of all of it and then good following of instructions.
I think we all kind of messed up in different ways. Matt didn't bring anything. I brought too much. It's kind of testament to how things
why we
are
work
run
so well
here.
as a team.
Right, so let's start with your number 1 then.
My number 1. I thought we were going to start like number 5.
Oh
Can we not-
because we don't have time to do. All...
Joe, I don't listen to you list every
Fine,
fucking team.
but
in the
I
league.
thought you'd like number 5. Can I just say number 5?
All right, we
Say
can say it
number 5.
quickly.
The Cowboys.
Oh, gross!
Oh,
I
They were
didn't
second
enjoy
in the
that.
division.
Yeah, I know.
They
that
missed
at all.
out by like one game.
Hey. But they are the worst.
Sir, Joe didn't understand the assignment again.
Well, this is what I mean. I kind of want to quickly just mention my 5 and 4 because they weren't necessarily big losers, but I think they're going to make a massive jump. Or
Was
leap
your
next
4 the
season.
49ers because they didn't quite win
No.
the Super Bowl? No.
The Chiefs.
Shut up, you bastard. I just want to say the Cowboys, obviously they're an 8-8 record. It's not anything to be like,
Right,
that's
home
why
with
they're
that.
5, okay? They're not 1. But
No,
They
that
didn't
makes
even
sense.
lose.
I'm
They don't even have a
predicting-
losing record.
I think
They
their
were 5.
their GM in hiding, Will McClay, the one who does all their draft picks for the last few years,
Yeah.
needs a freaking Hall of Fame medal if they win a Super Bowl because the amount of talent he has actually put on this Cowboys team without any media attention, he basically is the GM. It's just this weird Jerry
Just
show.
does it in the background, yeah.
I mean that draft class.
I didn't see him on the yacht.
The value
Just
they
saying.
got out of these
Whoa.
picks, they got five
was
starters in 7 draft picks. It's absolutely mental. CeeDee Lamb at 17, wide receiver, we all know that. Trayvon Diggs, cornerback, going to start. Nevin Gillimore, defensive tackle, going to be a starter in rotation. Tyler Biadasz, who is a center out of Wisconsin, the same university that Travis Frederick went to, and a lot of people had him touted as the best center in the draft, but kind of fell behind as things do. There's another defensive end as well in the 5th, Bradley Ane, from Utah, who also people have touted as having potential to at least get in rotation and get in the starting lineup a little bit here and there. I think, they addressed all their issues. They've improved on their issues. They've taken luxury picks. They've gotten rid of dead cap like Rob Quinn, and obviously they were never gonna be able to afford Byron Jones with the amount Miami are paying him, but they replaced him with Maurice Canady, with Trayvon Diggs, with another cornerback in the 4th, which I haven't noted down the name of, but it
Must be good.
still they've addressed all their needs of concern and they've improved, and I think they're probably talented enough next year to go at least 11-5, I would say.
Ooh.
Yeah, but the Cowboys are talented enough to go 11-5 every single year.
Yeah, I know.
They
They
just-
just have distractions and a poorly
They
run.
just fall
Well, yeah,
in on
if
each
it wasn't-
other.
Have a big
this weird-
distraction at the quarterback position or anything like that this year.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Called out. Cow,
True.
cow, cow.
Can I? I don't.
What's your 4, Joe?
I'm just going to say
Give
the
us your
Browns.
Are we not going to talk about? I was going to talk about the Cowboys a little bit longer, but yeah, move on.
Well, I know we
bored.
don't.
I'm
I don't want to
bored
talk
of
about
the
the Cowboys
Cowboys.
too long because I know they
Nobody wants
weren't.
to talk about
I
the
kind
Cowboys
of want to
for
get
too
my
long.
first 2 off because they're not like big losers. So the Browns.
They're not correct.
Shut up, you little bastard, you. Yeah, so they obviously last year they kind of built that dream team we were hyping up during the preseason, only to have our dreams and sandwiches taken away from us.
Which are you more sad about?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm kind of happy they didn't make an AFC Championship because it made us look really dominant until we lost in the playoffs first go. Woo! But 6-10 last year. 6-10 last year. I've got them turning it around to 10-6. I think the talent they picked up, they've addressed their offensive line issues, which is the main thing for me, with Jack Conklin. They got a centre in Evan Brown coming in, and they also picked up another centre, Nick Harris, in the 5th, who could actually get some starting time potentially, as well as some sneaky good draft picks. Jedrick Wills Jr., another left tackle, which is a glaring need ever since the hole left by Joe Thomas.
He's a right tackle, Jedrick Wills.
I know, but Jack Conklin will probably
Yeah.
play right tackle, so I imagine Jedrick Wills has the talent to, at this point in his career, at least start out on the left and kind of adapt. That's what everyone's been saying anyway, because I know.
No, they wouldn't have drafted him to play right tackle.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good point.
yeah, and obviously, like we've mentioned before in the last week's podcast, Grant Delpit, players like Jordan Elliott, just good value for picks, and Donovan Peoples-Jones in the 6th as well. I just think they drafted really well. They addressed all of their issues by free agency's end. They'd already basically addressed everything with Andrew Sandejo as well, which is another sneaky good safety pick. And yeah, the only thing I would say for them, and another reason, is they did lose a lot of their linebacking core, and I'd like to see how, obviously they drafted Jacob Phillips and they've brought in BJ Goodson, but I don't think that can replace the productivity from Joe Sherbert and Christian Kirksey on that defense.
Sherbert's a really
Sherbert
underrated
is
player.
so good. I genuinely love him. And
Loves tackling.
He doesn't get the credit he deserves. Really, it's a bit of a piss take. But yeah,
Could you argue with the Browns as well? What they've done really well is they've sort of built their team backwards. They got all the flashy parts last year, and now they've got the solid bits you actually need to win games in the league.
Yeah, that's a good point, to be honest. And they've also got rid of Freddie Kitchens, which is a massive
That
positive.
could do 5 wins on its own.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Kevin Stefanski had great success last year running that Minnesota offense.
I think
Every team in the league is going to start running that exact same offense.
They're going
at
to
some
have
point,
so
aren't
many
they?
heavy sets with 2 tight ends and Joku. And
Outside zone with play action.
they're going to have
10
Joku
tight ends.
and Austin Hooper
it's the meta, yeah.
coming off play action passes, bootlegs, and things like that. They're just the talent they've got on this team alone. They need to. The thing is with this, and I've kind of underlined this, is like it doesn't give an excuse to Baker Mayfield. Really, the ball's literally in his court. Like
If Mayfield's still trash, then it's just Mayfield can't.
Well,
obviously they've got to look again at the quarterback position for the umpteenth time, don't they? Really?
Yeah,
Or
that'd be
if-
I think he
disappointing.
was good. I think he was good enough in his rookie year that we should know at this point that he's not trash.
Yeah, he's not.
No.
But this is a make or break year for Mayfield, surely.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we've seen
The
the
thing-
good, we've seen the really
Yeah.
bad.
the
Like
thing is, last year you just
It's similar to
Sorry, go ahead.
what they've done with Drew Lock in Denver. If you put that many pieces around you and you still can't succeed, at some point you've
Then
got to
you're
look
not
at
the
quarterback
guy,
like,
yeah.
Right, this isn't the answer.
Yeah, and I think we kind of all jumped in that hole last year of going, oh, look at all the talent they've acquired at receiver and running back, and wow, and no one actually thought about the O-line. Obviously, Joel Bitonio going down, them getting him back next year will be a big plus for them. And they're just what they've addressed. I think they've done really well addressing the foundations. I am a bit worried for that defense though. I think it's going to probably take a
Well,
noticeable
if
dip.
Jedrick Willis can live up to his hype, you've got 3 potential Pro Bowlers on that offensive line.
Yeah, it's
that's
like what the
true.
Cowboys have done with their offensive line with Frederick, Smith, and Zach Martin as well. Just 3 staples on the line that are you can kind of fit in any other lineman to fill the gap, and they'll play up to the level of those 2 because they're so dominant. You know.
Do the Ravens being in that division and the Steelers getting Big Ben back, along with their defense that was so far superior than anyone expected it to be last year, does that make it difficult for the Browns to win the division?
I'm not gonna lie. I would say if I had to guess the AFC North final season rankings, I would say the Browns finished 10-6, the Bengals finished 8-8, the Steelers probably finished maybe 6-10, and then
6-10.
Yeah, and then
Bengals 8-8.
yeah, I got the
Yeah,
Bengals
I
making
don't-
a big jump.
I don't know.
If Joe Burrow's as advertised,
Which brings me on,
there's
like
no reason-
that is my third pick as well. So I'm sure people have probably said the Bengals. Someone must have mentioned the Bengals.
I'm
I
not
put a
sure,
question mark
man.
next to the Bengals.
I'm not
I'm
sure.
not sold.
I couldn't
I'm not
back
sold on
myself.
them.
You know what?
The thing is, the way I've done this is I took it literally like the last place teams to win the division, and I could only sort of get behind 3 of them.
Yeah.
The rest of them I just can't get behind at all.
Well,
The Bengals are one that I couldn't really quite talk myself into
Yeah.
because of how
There's still
terrible
too
they were
many.
last year.
There's
I'll
still
tell you
too
what.
many holes on that roster.
I'll tell you what, it might,
Yeah.
but this is what I mean. This is why they're number 3 for me. Like out of a possible 5 I picked, I thought they're going to be the most what the Ravens were from Joe Flacco and then Lamar Jackson stepping in and becoming a watchable team. At least people are going to watch Bengals games, like Matt had mentioned, I think, in last week's podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they've done decent. They've done okay in free agency with Mackenzie Alexander, Von Bell, Josh Bynes was a good linebacker for us coming in to replace some of their depth. They obviously lost Tyler Eifert and Andy Dalton, but amid Tyler Eifert's many injury concerns over the years, and then their draft was just like I was just happy with their draft, to be honest. And I know they're in the AFC North. Like I said, I've got them going from 1-15, just making the jump up to 8-8. I think that's a Bengals fans would love to get an 8-win season, and that's how sad it is at
Yeah,
this
they
point.
bite your hand off, man, for an 8-8 season after last year. But
I
I
think-
think that's unrealistic for a second year head. Is Zach Taylor's in his second year now, isn't he?
yeah.
The Bengals, yeah, for a second year head coach, rookie quarterback. I can't see them winning anything above 6 games.
Yeah, but this is
Six
the
games
same.
would be a good
It's
win.
the same rookie quarterback who had the best season ever by a college QB.
He's
in
still
his
a rookie
one
quarterback.
season. Yeah, I know,
He
but
can't carry a whole offense. He needs people to throw to and a line to protect
like
him.
T.
And on
Higgins,
that-
AJ
on that
Green.
note as well, yeah.
They brought in
They've got Joe Mixon in the running game, who is custom built.
and Joe
for that
Mixon
offense.
really picked
It's
up
just-
near the end of the season last year as well.
It's just such a big jump.
I know.
And what people forget as
And
well
you've got to
is
play six games against teams you think are going to be good.
That
You've got
are
to play
good
the Steelers,
teams,
who are really good defense. I think you're maybe sleeping on that. The Ravens, who we know are going to be exceptional again. And you say the Browns are going to be good as well. I don't know where those.
This has
That's
happened.
a
This has
really tough
happened
decision.
before. This has happened before, though. Like the AFC North has had many times where there are, the Steelers, the Bengals, and the Steelers all make the playoffs, with obviously the exception being the Browns. But in this scenario, I imagine obviously the Bengals don't make the playoffs of 8-8, but they just improve to a level that a lot of fans would be very happy with.
You could argue they haven't gone worst to first.
They've gone
but
worst
they've
to
gone
okay.
third worst to first.
worst to third.
They've gone very, very worst to like pretty good
But they finished in the same position
as
they
the
did last
Dallas
season.
Cowboys. Congratulations, you're the Dallas Cowboys. Well done.
Fair, if they're the Dallas Cowboys next year, that's a win for them.
Yeah, I know exactly.
All right, while we go through your list, let's take your number 2 then, Joe.
I've got the Cardinals.
I've got the Cardinals. They were my number 1.
Yeah,
Same.
I think it's a good one. I think the story of the Cardinals last year, they lost a lot of close games in 2020. We could see a nice rejuvenated Cardinals offense now, and I'm sure Stan would agree with all the pickups. I didn't think they had the most notable free agency, to be honest, in terms of their actual signings, other than the trade. I'm not counting trades at the moment, by the way. Don't panic.
I was going to say
the
the
hot
hot
one.
free agent signings. That nothing really stands out that much. I mean, some depth at D line, linebacker. But DeAndre Hopkins with that massive trade, unloading David Johnson's massive contract for a second rounder, effectively. Lol, what? Even though Kenyon Drake is way better in their system anyway. Kenyon Drake, by the way, they're getting transition tagged, so they don't have to pay him big contract this year as well, which is another smart move. Then the picks they made in the draft, I think, were phenomenal. Isaiah Simmons, obviously, we know how much they love them. There was a story coming out in the press. I think I read an article where, Cliff Kingsbury was completely baffled in the third round when Josh Jones was still on the board. And like we said last week in our draft recap.
Plus, Cliff Kingsbury has an absolutely baller house. So
I was going to say that.
Yes.
It's an absolute crib.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's got a freaking fire pit where you don't need a fire pit at all. It's definitely a danger to society.
Audacious amounts of fire pit.
Yeah, I think they did. They had a really good draft. They had a really good. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is the main thing here. I think what you get with Larry Fitz at this age is, let's be honest, not his prime Larry Fitz. So having that real true top receiver in DeAndre Hopkins amongst a Christian Kirk and obviously Kenyon Drake and how well he did.
That Hopkins signing, it allows Christian Kirk to not be that number 1 receiver. Lets him move around a little bit more, and you don't have to rely on him to be your go-to guy.
Yeah, he should never be a number 1 receiver. Obviously, he's a very talented guy. He's very speedy. Motivated receiver, but I don't think he's ever got the sort of traditional, I hate to say it, but traditional skill set and mix of everything.
Size.
Well, it's not even that,
underrated
because you obviously you've got Antonio Browns, who are obviously undersized for a typical receiver, but still amazing at going up, making the big catches and contested catches. But I just love what they've done with DeAndre Hopkins and just getting all these weapons. And the only thing I would have liked to see more, obviously Josh Jones is a big one. I want to see just more investments in the O-line in general, to be honest. I wish they did something in free agency as well. But I mean,
agree with you
I'm happy with it. I think they're the number 2 most improved team for me.
Yeah, I mean, call me biased. I've got them at number 1.
Nice.
It doesn't help you've got that Larry Fitzgerald jersey over your shoulder
hanging behind you.
There it is. Yeah. No, it was a good off-season. We brought back Larry Fitzgerald. Like, people overlook that. Re-signed him. He's not retiring. We've got Devondre Campbell from the Falcons, who will probably start at inside linebacker for us with Jordan Hicks. Re-signed DJ Humphries at left tackle.
Nice.
Jordan Phillips on the D-line, as well as Devondre Kennard from the Lions to add to our pass rush. So
Yeah.
overall, good off-season.
And you've still got Jones on the pass rush, who's maybe
Exactly.
the most understated pass rusher in the NFL.
Best pass rusher.
Yes, Jones
pass
is
rusher of
amazing.
the 2010s.
Chandler Jones is a beast. I swear to God, he is an absolute monster. That whole Jones family, from Arthur Jones, spending his time in Baltimore, moving over to the Eagles. I know Slew likes a bit of Arthur Jones as well. And that whole family is absolute craziness, but Chandler Jones is just something insane. I've been watching his whole career from the Patriots, moving over to Cardinals, and he's always been this underrated edge defender. He honestly could win an MVP if the Cardinals had a good,
And they
well,
gave
not an MVP,
if
but
they gave MVPs
yeah, they don't give away those easy to defensive players. Just for reference as well. Sorry, I've got the record. Obviously, in 2020 it was 5-10-1. I've got them going 10-5-1.
I would take that. I would happily take that.
Still that one.
Yeah, I think they're going to get a weird draw against the Seahawks.
Is that just so you can get the symmetry?
Yeah, he loves
I like it. It looks nice. Or 10-6, I don't mind.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
But potentially a wild card
Yeah,
spot.
I could see that. I could see that happening.
I could
We'll
see
beat the
that,
Rams
yeah.
this
I
year.
think the
for sure.
Niners will be too good for them to clinch that division then.
Nah, we've got luck against the Niners. Apart from last year,
I would say
we're always good against the Niners.
I would say there's
Is that because
potential
the Niners were trash
for.
before last year?
That might have something to do with it, but
The rebirth.
I think there's potential that the 49ers won't win that division, and I think either the 49ers, Seahawks, or Cardinals could win it. I don't see the Rams
Rams
winning
are
it
washed.
next year.
The Seahawks always get at least 10 wins somehow.
yeah.
Russell
Yeah.
Wilson.
Yeah, because Russell Wilson is that good. That's pretty much
scrambles
why.
his way.
Are you going to get me an O lineman?
No.
No.
He's gonna stand here and chew my gum.
That's fine.
All right,
So
Joe,
you
and
have
your number
chosen
one.
death. My number one is the Denver Broncos.
Oh, I'm
And
so
I'll-
in on the Denver Broncos.
I
they didn't
fucking
come last
love.
Uh,
I love what they've done this year. I'm absolutely loving it. They like what they've got in Drew Lock. Obviously, last year, just to put it into a bit of context,
Please.
first year under Vic Fangio. We're moving into the second year now. It started rocky with Joe Flacco. Big surprise there.
Yeah, it did.
He's a
Is he
bit
not
of
elite,
a.
Joe? You were
What the
claiming
hell?
for years that he was elite.
you were claiming for years.
Yeah, maybe. Well, yeah, but also, you said Dan Marino was better than Joe Montana. So shut up.
And he is.
But obviously, Drew Lock showed promise near the end of the year. They were kind of in the playoff race near the end of it, finishing 7-9, just missing it, but showing promise. And I like what they've done. They've heavily invested in him. Obviously, they've lost a few key players with Chris Harris Jr. and Derek Wolfe and those kind of players. But I think the replacement for Chris Harris Jr. with AJ Boye, getting that in a 4th round trade for a 2020 pick is phenomenal for me.
Bonkers.
Jarrell Casey moving for a 7th round pick is amazing as well. The value they got out of that trade is crazy. Melvin Gordon just coming along on a much reduced salary than what
on
he
a
was
vendetta,
after.
basically.
Yeah, pretty much to prove that the Chargers screw you and you're no fans. Graham Glasgow as well could potentially get some guard work in, but I don't think their O-line's as big an issue as some of the others in the division. And obviously, this is the main thing. Jerry Jeudy in the first round, KJ Hamler in the second round, doubling down on receivers in a receiver
Weapons.
stacked draft. I mean, you can get a lottery pick with any of these sort of like 2nd to 3rd round receivers. I think they could just pop open and look. Why did we not see so and so? It's because there were so many of them, and I think they also addressed the centre and Albert O in the 4th round. I'm only sort of counting up to the 4th round because I think it's hard to predict after the 5th.
We all agree here. We've spoken about the Broncos both on the free agency episode and last week's draft recap. We're all
they've done some
in
good
favour
things.
of
To
the
be
moves
fair.
they've made this off-season.
But it's just what they've done to help Drew Lock, and I love that they're actually putting all in behind their franchise QB and saying, "Screw it! Like we think you're the guy. Just prove it to us. We're giving you the weapons."
I saw a weird stat this week. Do you know who the only quarterback drafted by the Broncos to win a playoff game was?
Tim Tebow.
John
Tebow.
Elway.
Yeah,
Tebow. Surely it's
Tim
Tebow. Boom.
Wait, what?
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah, no, because John Elway was the Colts.
In
Wasn't
their
it?
history,
God.
the only quarterback drafted by them to win a playoff game.
The
That's
Tebow man.
true. Wow.
Gotta love
That's
Tim
crazy.
Tebow.
Yeah, he's being shit at baseball
What
now.
a neat fact.
He's going to make the majors this year as
Still
well.
playing
He's going to
baseball.
make the majors this year. They're one injury away from him being brought up to the Mets major league team.
Oh, he must be elite.
Good
If
God.
he's gonna make the majors, surely he can't be that bad at baseball.
He's
I
not.
mean, I don't watch baseball. I think it was. I've seen him like clips of him hitting home runs and stuff, but obviously that's just if Tim Tebow hits a home run, everyone's gonna put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think for me the Broncos obviously the only thing with them is they weren't as big a loser because of their 7-9 finish. But I think just the amount of talent they put in and what they've got, the value in free agency, the value in the trades, and the value in the draft is crazy good. I got them going 11-5 to 12-4 next year, potentially being a number 2 seed in the AFC.
The problem is that the division's tough, though.
Yeah.
It's a tough division.
I was about to say the same
it's been
thing.
a tough division every single year, but I think they've got the Chiefs in there. That's the main thing.
I think the Chargers will be surprisingly
I've got
good as well
the
this
Chargers
year.
here on my list.
We say that every year. The Chargers are good every year,
Yeah, that's the thing.
and then
I've
they
got
all
a
get
load of-
injured.
I've got a load of
Why are
points.
you doing this again?
My last point for the
You're-
Chargers, it's a tough division, and the Chargers will have to stay healthy, which they've struggled with in the past.
Forever.
So
This is the same argument we have every single year about the Chargers.
fun, though.
I'm tired of hearing it. Like, when will the Chargers be good? We've literally had
This
this
is the
debate
year.
before. I'm pretty sure I made a freaking YouTube clip of this and never uploaded it. I will go back and find it, but I don't see it. I don't see them going through a season healthy.
we're just
it's like the
on
Redskins. I don't see it
paper
happening.
At this moment.
I don't-
With Tyrod Taylor,
I don't
as
believe
long
it
as you've got
until
the
I see it.
pieces around him, he proved with the Bills that he can
Yeah.
be. He's solid. He's not spectacular, but he's a solid quarterback.
The
He's not gonna-
he's
the
he's not
Chargers
gonna
will be
lose games.
fine as long as they don't put Justin
He
Herbert
can
in.
win games. Tyrod Taylor could easily win games. He's just never really been he's never been giving the full faith to do that.
I like
Their
Tyrod
O-line
Taylor.
improved.
He
Their
took the
O-line
Bills to the
improved.
playoffs though.
Yeah, exactly. Tyrod Taylor's a low-key baller.
Yeah, he's good. And he's really hard to sack. That's the main
And
thing.
they've
He's got
improved
that.
their offensive line as well this year. They brought in Brian Balaga and Trey
Well, that was their
Turner.
main
Beluga.
issue. The
Beluga.
main issue was their offensive line and their defensive line depth, because as soon as Melvin Gordon and Joey Bosa get injured, they're kind of
Melvin Ingram.
screwed on
In the
the.
Ingram
They've
one,
got,
yeah.
they've got
sorry, yeah.
Lynn
I always
Valdes
do
there
that
Melvin
as well.
Ingram is one of another, like Jones, one of the most underrated pass rushers.
Yeah.
And when you put him alongside
he's
Joey Bosa,
really good.
and they added Linval Joseph to that D line,
He tore us apart in that one playoff game.
and they
we
added
lost
Chris
against
Harris.
them.
They're a really good team.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Harris as well was an underrated pickup. We mentioned this the other week, but I just love everything they've done, and I just like it when a team gets behind their top guy. Like I just there's something about that. It just invigorates me.
So it's
I
the
think.
Broncos, you say you like
It's-
it. They're everything they've done.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I can't really name anything bad. The one thing I would say is, like, did you need Melvin Gordon? But then again, like, why not?
If
if
he's
you have the cap
if he's
for it,
available,
No,
It's
but
not-
it's
it's
not
not
a
a big
triple-headed
contract.
monster now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, having
Same.
exactly having what we're finding out every year is that having multiple options at running back is better than having one star
Absolutely,
guy.
yeah.
Running back by committee is going to become the going thing. And what crazy stat? I'm sorry to bring the Ravens into
No,
this.
sorry, I'm absolutely
probably nearly.
shocked that that's come out of your mouth. You in particular,
Yeah.
the biggest advocate
Hey,
for
I've done
having
this
running back
whole
as
thing.
the man.
Yeah, no, but I would say that just the way the league is going, and honestly looking
Good
at
being,
it,
coach.
Mark Ingram took 40% of the snaps last year at running back for us.
And he's going to have
Obviously
even less
that's-
next year.
That might be inflated a bit, because not obviously when we're winning games a lot, we're putting Gus Edwards in for a long amount of time, but we're building up something there where we're basically going to have 4 running backs who could easily come in and
what the
take
Niners
over
do.
for different situations, and it makes sense. You
Yeah.
could have a guy who pops off for 200 yards one game, and then he's nothing. He's not to be heard of for 6 weeks, and I think that's what we're going to start to see in the smart teams that are running the ball efficiently rather than ramming it down the throat with one
It's a bit
bloke.
selfish in terms of fantasy football, though, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're spreading the love, man. They're spreading the love. You've got more. You've got that. It always does. It does seem to be, though. If someone has a good game, they just ride the person with
Yeah,
the
I'll hand
momentum.
it.
Do you know what I mean?
And also on
It's like Rex Burkhead will always have a 20-point game.
on
or
that
something.
note, in my fantasy 3P that I've done with our league, one of my
shut
savviest
up.
pickups was Mike Gillisley, because I just knew that McCoy would get the Bills down to the 1 yard line, and then Gillisley would just touchdown
yeah.
vulture for
What,
the
the-
6 points. There's a place for guys who come in and can run 1 yard.
Are they going to be more valuable then going forward, do we think, those goal line backs? Because
Hell
you
yeah.
don't know who's going to get the carries between the 20s.
Definitely.
Oh, Samar J. Piran was actually in one of these teams, and I've totally forgotten where he's actually gone.
I'm fairly
He
certain
might
we
come to
cut
the
him,
Cardinals,
bro.
actually.
He was at the Redskins,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
I thought he went to the
Yeah,
Dolphins.
but he
Did you cut the Dolphins
he
or
was
pick
at the
him up?
Redskins.
We cut him, man.
And someone picked him up, but not the well, the Dolphins cut him,
Bengals
and
picked him
then
up.
The Bengals.
Bengals picked him up off waivers. But that's what I mean. Joe Mixon, shiftier guy with some power, but you want a guy who's just going to ball forward on the 1 yard line.
It's like the
and get
Seahawks bringing
1
back
yard.
Marshall Lynch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, to literally get like what was it, like a 1.7 yard average total, but still get a touchdown
exactly,
because they put him on the 1 yard line. And they're like, we're going to give it to you.
It's nice that they did it this time, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's not an overplayed
I
joke.
did it in time.
Oh, sorry.
All right, you're an overpaid joke.
£0.
I do this for the love of it.
All right, so the final
Right.
team I had circled as a potential one that can go worst to first was the Miami Dolphins.
Yes!
Ooh.
Yeah!
I like to see it.
That's a
Mainly
hot
because
take.
of how terrible they were last year, and they did pick up towards the end of the season. So there's already signs that they can improve. But also, there's such a power gap in the AFC East at the moment. Yeah, the Bills are probably the favourite going in, and the Patriots we'll find out. Maybe they can do it with Stidham. We won't know until the season kicks off. But the
Bills have got
Dolphins
that
made some
division.
good moves in free agency in the draft.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a chance. Maybe you only need 9 wins to win this division.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows?
No,
It's
you'll need more than 9.
You probably do.
Nah.
At least maybe 10 to be fair, because the
sorry.
Bills are in there, and I think the Bills will be competitive. The
Statement.
Bills will probably get 10 wins.
Bills are the real
So
deal.
I don't think they'll win the division. I think they'll make like the Bengals. They'll make a big
I don't
jump.
think any of these last place teams will win the division, but I thought that's what the challenge was and why it was so tricky.
Yeah, obviously.
Idiot.
Saying the Broncos to beat the Chiefs like at least 1 out of their 2 games and clinch division is pretty difficult. But you know, this is what it's about. It's hypotheticals, man.
Does
And
Tua play
What are you
this
gonna
year,
do?
Matt?
yes, he does.
When
I think it's
when?
probably about week 8 or 9 potentially.
Does
That's
that mean?
risky.
Yeah, but does that mean
Risky.
before that you've been losing a few games, or does
Why?
it just mean Tua proves himself in training?
I think it just means to improve himself in training. I think there'll be a time when he will just surpass Fitzpatrick in terms of, you know, talent day in day out on the training field. To be honest, and
Is that
But
not
do you
a massive
think?
risk,
But
though?
do you think?
I don't know if it
If
is.
you're
I
winning
mean,
games
yeah.
and then you change it up.
has that?
It just depends what.
Mm.
It just depends what situation you guys are in say week 8. Like
Yeah.
if you're 2 and 5 going into week 8, do you need to start Tua? No, you could just, to be honest, tank a little bit and just sit on him and
There's
let
no
him
point
rest
playing
that
him
hip
yet.
for a full year. I think it depends fully on the situation. If it got to a point where, say, Fitzpatrick gets injured and Tua is medically cleared to go, then maybe we'll see it. I think that's the more likely
also
thing to
circling
happen.
back to what we're talking about at the start of the show, like it depends when the league starts as well. Like I don't think there's ever been a better time to take a QB with who's recovering from an injury. Like when you don't know
No, I know what
whether
you mean. He's got.
you don't know when the league's going to start,
Yeah.
man. He could have ages to be able to, you know, he's already ahead in his
Especially-
recovery. He's probably got more time than normal to accelerate that recovery as well. I mean, and what I'm glad you said it, Slew, because the reason I didn't have anyone else for the show in terms of doing this rankings, because I was just gonna ride or die with the Finns for this, to be honest. Like,
And you didn't want to come just saying,
Okay.
"Oh yeah, it's
Oh
the
my
only team's the
God.
Dolphins."
yeah,
How predictable is this? You've come with just the Dolphins
Yeah.
and no one else.
hit me, boy. I don't see
It's like
any other
it's
team.
like when you
that
turned
was-
up to that top 5 Hall of Fame players with just Dan Marino at all 5 positions.
I mean, let's talk it through. The Jets are going to be trash again because they've got Adam Gase, and until they get rid of him, they're always going to be trash. The Bills have improved, fair. They've got a decent roster now, but again, I don't think they've got enough pieces still around Josh Allen. You know, Stephon Diggs was a great pickup. Yeah, I like that pickup a lot. I'm not scared of the
And Brown's
Bills
a good
offense.
player as well.
Yeah.
Cole Beasley, John
Devin-
Brown, Devin
Devin
Singletary.
Singletary.
Hey man, I ain't
Yeah.
scared of Cole Beasley.
Devin
Come
Singletrary's
on, man.
good
I'm
as
more
well.
scared of Cole
Devin
Beasley's
Singletary's good.
rap albums than his fucking
Mate,
on-field play.
Devin Singletary has
They
that
are
ability to
awful.
always make the first guy miss.
Shit,
which
man.
is
Imagine if
something-
we had like a Matt Breeder who could do a sort of similar job.
Yeah,
but he's not going to stop Devin Singletary
don't
running,
think
is
he
he?
is.
He's not going to go
I don't-
tackle him.
I'm
Yeah,
not
what
scared
are you
in
on
any
about?
way of the Bills' offense. I think their defense is still
Yeah.
sick. I'm not that. I don't think the Bills have got.
But the Bills aren't built to blow people out, are they? They're built to win games
No.
like 17-10.
I think
But
our
their
offense
defense
will
last year
outscore
was
them.
second best.
I think our offense in the games where we play the Bills, I think our offense has more firepower.
You thought freaking Josh Rosen was going to get more touchdown passes than Lamar Jackson
Yeah,
last year.
well, no one.
Why don't you sit on your little your dented fence that's just fully in Dolphins'
It's
corner?
not a fence, then, is it?
And shut up.
Boy, hey, the whole point of this, well, the way I interpreted the segment was to.
Oh, it's the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm riding with the Dolphins, man.
Let's have a Dolphins chat.
He's wrote it on his little notepad. Tua or nothing.
Essentially, who was shit last year and who's who's going to be pretty sick this season? And I genuinely
The
think
Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I like the
think
Cardinals. They're fun, but
You compare the Cardinals to the Dolphins.
I don't think you've got a chance to win the division, though, man. I think you're the
Neither
best.
I don't
Dolphins.
think Dolphins
You've
do have a
really
weaker
got a
division
chance.
going for them.
Yeah,
I don't think Tua's going to start. I don't think you're going to win enough games consistently at the start of the season to win the division next year. And you've got to remember the Patriots are still there, whether or not
care
they're
about
Joe Stidham
the
or whatever.
Patriots.
The thing with the
Man.
Patriots, though, is that who are their receivers
yeah.
or
Hey,
tight ends?
yeah.
All right,
Exactly.
okay.
Anything. When
This is what I mean.
when you've
Well,
got
they
Tom
did
Brady,
pick a tight end,
when you've
but
got
they
Tom
weren't.
Brady, you can sort of do something to make up the difference.
Yeah.
If you're expecting Jarrett Stidham to elevate people on his first year as a starter, that's a big ask.
This is what I'm saying, man. People
Yeah.
are saying, "What about the Patriots? What about the Patriots?" That roster wasn't particularly talented last season and has been absolutely gutted this off-season. And without
that is true.
any massive additions.
Feels bad for Julian Edelman just sitting in the
I don't
corner.
fucking
Oh,
care
yeah,
about
100%.
Julian Edelman.
Gronk
I
and Tom Brady
I don't give a
party.
Of
shit.
course you don't.
Fuck Julian Edelman. Mate, I genuinely people I think are still
Add that to the list of people we've offended, by the
fuck
way.
it. Julian Edelman can fucking DM me on Instagram and have a go. I don't give a shit.
Yes, Julian Edelman, if
Julian
you're
Edelman,
listening
if
to
you are
this,
looking
please
where-
feel free.
to DM us on Instagram at the Dropback or Twitter at the Dropback as well. Even if you use Facebook as at the Dropback UK,
Or just you
anything
could
want,
just
Julian.
harass Matt
Edelman,
or
come
Matt's
at me.
family members as well.
Yeah.
I'll drop their wait. So we've got
Fuck
Matt's
it. Give him
brother
my mobile.
07.
But yeah, man, like genuinely, I think the Patriots. I think this is dynasty kaput for the Patriots. And like I said, the Jets are going to be shit because Adam Gase literally couldn't third and long run his way out of a fucking plastic bag. And I don't think the Bills are that special. So boom,
Okay.
fuck
Fair
you all.
enough.
Bill's the
Very
real
impassioned
deal.
argument. Does anyone else have any other teams that are going to make the leap?
Fuck you all.
I've
Fins
got
for
just
life.
one thing to add on. I've got one thing to add on to the
Bring
Fins
it.
in favour of what
Oh, definitely bring it then.
you're saying.
Definitely bring
Matt.
it.
I would just say that the just picks aside, I like Brian Flores.
Yes.
I really like it.
Yes.
I think he's the fact that he didn't sit down and just take the tank last season, even despite what looked like front office just basically removing anyone who was good to try and get Tua. You still managed to get Tua with a fifth overall
man.
selection.
I mean,
as
like,
well, so.
there's been a no-name defense for the good reasons. We literally had a fucking no-name defense last year. There were games where I didn't even know who was started.
Yeah, but you still
Man,
had
honestly.
good defensive performances, even near the especially near the
This
end
is
of the
what I mean.
season.
We
You
were
actually had some decent.
Flores was able to get like very good performances out of pretty mediocre players, and we've actually added some
that's-
very good players this season.
Yeah,
I
to
do
be fair,
think
that is very
that-
true.
Yeah, the Dolphins have a good foundation to become something good. I just don't know they're going to do it next season.
Boom, fuck
Yeah,
you. Next
season's
season.
still rebuild.
Next
They're still
season.
mid-rebuild. To expect anything out of them this year is a bit. It's a bit silly if you ask me, because they don't
we
have.
Sorry,
They don't
go
have an
ahead.
O line. They still don't have an O line.
We got a bit of an
And
O-line.
The guy who they're placing their future in is an injury-prone quarterback, and you've got no O-line to protect him.
But he
you
balls
bring him in,
out.
he's getting hurt.
Have people temper their expectations then because of what happened with the Browns last year? That they added all these pieces and you think, right, they're ready to make us.
We can't
they
compare
don't
the
have
two
the
of them.
basis for it.
No,
I
I
don't
don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to compare them either, because I think the Browns is a whole different situation. That was just a media storm. Everyone just thought don't know, you see the big names and you get attracted to it, but I don't think
there's
the
been
the
no
Finns have done
blockbuster
that.
with
trade.
the Finns,
If Tua looks half decent in pre-season, there's going to be that exact same whip-up in Miami.
Is Tua playing in the preseason? That's
Is
the
there going to be a
question.
pre-season?
Yeah,
will there
man.
be a
I
pre-season?
don't know.
Seriously, question marks.
Oh man,
And-
this is getting some.
And through it
Right,
all,
I don't
deep-
think we've
deep
got
stuff.
time to get into all of that. We are getting to the end of our podcast today, I think. So, Julian Edelman or anyone else, if you want to check us out on social media, find us on Twitter and Instagram at The Dropback.
Come at me,
Find
Julian.
us on Facebook at The Dropback UK. Look at our website, www.thedropback.com. Pretty straightforward. I've been your host, Sam. Thank you so much for listening.
I've been Joe.
I've been Matt.
I've been Stan. Hopefully, I'll make it to week 3.
And tune in next week to find out if he does. Until next time, bye-bye.
See ya.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
The Drop Back with Sam Lewis, Matt Burns Peak, and Joe Costanzo.